Welcome back, everyone, to Blogcast Podcast. Today we have an amazing guest and a dear friend, Michael Ayres, Group CEO and partner of Rostro Group, a leading company in the region and globally in the field of financial markets and services. Today we had a masterclass in leadership. Michael really explained what it means to build a company from scratch, make it a big success story, and what it is mean to be a still young executive and a CEO of a big organization. You're also going to learn what it means to be part of the transformation of the financial industry, of the financial markets, of the foreign exchange markets. You will also hear what are Michael's plans when it comes to AI, when it comes to digital markets. And finally, how can you meet the amazing people from Rostro Group? Enjoy the podcast. Today, I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Demetrios Zamboglou. My name is Anton Golub. Enjoy the show and welcome to Blogcast Podcast.
And I remember saying to my wife at the time, I don't know why, but at some point I'm going to have to do something that's zero. Like it's at some point. I don't know why. I don't know when. There's an itch now.
Calling.
Yeah, it just showed up, and I guess it built over time. It wasn't a Monday I woke up and today it's here. It just was there, and then as soon as I felt it, it doesn't go away. I would say in my career that was one of the most important points, as we all have more than one. It's kind of a line in the sand. I was given a lot of trust when I went to GKFX. There was a lot of ability to kind of stretch, grow, fail, learn, and progress things. I took 3 months out at that point, and I almost left the industry.
No.
Honestly speaking, yeah.
What was the alternative?
Now you're open.
I will be honest. I applied and was rejected for a personal training role at Fitness First.
Big thank you to Fitness First.
Shout out.
Yeah. And to be honest, I had zero qualifications for this, so it was the right thing. I go function by function, and that's about 25, 26 coffee mornings a year, so about one every 2 weeks. And the concept is, and this was last year, come in and say exactly the questions you asked. What do you like? Do you want to see more of, or make sure we maintain? What are you looking, what is missing? What you need us to add? And typically that would be where there's more, because people want to take the opportunity to ask for something new or different. They're familiar, we understood there will be good times, tough times, we'll manage that, we'll put our risk controls in place. We had all of this mapped out. And then it was, so we had about 8 staff at this point in Rostro Group, and we flew to Cyprus, myself and 3 others of the kind of more senior team.
Half the company flew.
Half the company.
So Michael, really welcome to the show. Great to have you. And just to say, in the preparation for the podcast, Demetrios was telling me how an amazing executive, a young person who is on the top of his game globally in the region. And that makes me very excited. So I think we're going to have an amazing podcast, and we will definitely you will live up to the expectations. We are just the hosts here. So great to have you. And Demetrios, I'm sure you agree with me.
Yeah, a pleasure today. An old friend coming in the podcast studio with us.
Yes.
I'm sure we will share a lot of funny stories, maybe a little bit too many, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a lovely, lovely podcast. So maybe let's start.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys.
And maybe then to kick it off, you are leading a very, very strong and big organization here in the region, but globally. So maybe then, how I made the introduction. Can you tell a little bit, how does a young person like you become a top executive of a financial company? And how does this journey look like for you?
Yeah, so, thanks for having me.
Awesome.
I got a lot to live up to with that introduction, so yeah. But it's a combination of things, really. I think I didn't come through the traditional I didn't go to university. I went straight into financial markets. And that was a humbling kind of introduction into how working in the City of London would be. Fast-paced, lots of stress, lots of big personalities. Yes. So I learned quite early on.
You still have your hair.
It's here. I'm holding on. There's a few more grey ones in here, but they're creeping in now. But you learn, like the start was as much around learning how to work inside of a big company and somewhere where it's competitive, and the environment back then, certainly, it was 2008, kind of financial crisis, was my first month in the industry.
So the markets were crashing and you were joining, yeah?
Amazing, yeah. And I had no idea what was really going on around me. I was 18 years old, come in, and there was probably a meeting every day that was happening with the board and the risk committees, and there's me working out, how does FX work and how to do reconciliations, very basic manual stuff. And I'd say one of the main drivers for me in terms of my progress had been just constant curiosity. Yeah. This even to today, it's like the more I know, the more I realize I don't know. It's everything I think that's gone in makes me realize there's so much more out there in terms of knowledge, expertise, experience that doesn't exist yet, which is great. I'm really excited when I get to spend. I mean, this guy was part of it when I went to my second company at Alpari. I mean, there was people that were incredibly experienced, knowledgeable, that taught me lots of things.
You make me blush.
I have to be honest.
Great,
right?
Keep on going, Michael.
To be honest, right? To make it clear, because I had a lot of different. What I brought was this wanton willingness to learn. Yeah. And I said to myself, okay, if I've not gone to university and I haven't gone through a traditional kind of academic path, which is perfect for some people, but if I chose a different path, let me use the time effectively. That's not something that was for me a decision just based on, hey, I don't want to go to university. Yeah. It was, if I go to work, I have this 3 years, 4 years where I need to learn enough, fit within an industry, elements of fortune, comfortable with technology, numbers, data. So that helped that this industry sort of provided that for me. And then it was working with really good people along the way. So I started a company called ODL Securities. They were acquired by FXCM.
Congratulations, yeah.
Well, I went through within 18 months of starting in my working career, I went through an experience of a takeover of a company and what that meant for good and bad for people. Yeah. And I was the youngest one in the room, kind of looking around thinking, I don't know what's going on, but this big American company's here and some people look happy, some people don't look happy. So I took a decision. I took voluntary redundancy, the first person, because I was 19 and I looked around and felt like my development is going to stall. This isn't going to be a place where, for me at that age, I'm going to get exposure, experience. Things feel like they're going to just go sideways a bit, whilst this thing I didn't understand, it just happens. I took 3 months out at that point, and I almost left the industry.
No.
Honestly speaking, yeah.
What was the alternative? Now you're open.
I will be honest. I applied and was rejected for a personal training role at Fitness First.
Big thank you to Fitness First.
Shout out.
Yeah. And to be honest, I had zero qualifications for this, so it was the right thing.
Yes.
But I was at this inflection point where I felt like, okay, I've had enough. I've had a break. Okay, I need to go back to work. But I'd lost sense of what that career path looked like for me. And then I don't know what came up that made me go back. But then the opportunity with Alpari was the one that came up. And I went for an interview at the office. I had a good feeling. It was a well-established company, well-known. Mm-hmm. There were some familiar faces that actually, in my time of having some time off, had gone from the first company to Alpari. And for me, it just felt like, okay, I need to go. Let's continue. I'm nowhere near finished at all. So yeah, the story could have been very different. I don't think I'd have been sat here today having this conversation.
We might have been in the gym or in the sauna.
I would have probably made a terrible personal trainer.
Maybe you had your own branches of gyms.
Potentially. Maybe in my later life of my career, that's where I need to circle back to. Awesome. So yeah, and it was just that ability to keep pushing myself to learn, absorbing from people like Dima and other people that we worked with, because there was a lot of different and good personalities, experiences at Alpari.
I need to ask you, how is it working with or under Demetrios? I don't know what was the hierarchy. Tell us some of those stories that Demetrios was referring to.
I was very much more junior than Dima, and actually I don't know if you remember, because of your leaving Alpari, that's created this. So I started on the trade support team, and I was primarily doing night shifts, covering the APAC trading session. So I would come in on Sunday night, I would do my kind of recurring works. And then you had an opportunity to move to somewhere. And because of that, this space became available on the trading desk. And they wanted to recruit internally. It was a good thing. The policy was, okay, let's bring someone across from somewhere else. Yeah. And I think 6 or 7 people went for the role, and they gave it to me. So it was both learning from him by being a young guy on the trade support side, servicing the desk,
But you were the best from all of them, to be honest. I mean, although I left, I still had my people there.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously some things clicked for me. Of course, I wouldn't be sat here, wouldn't have done like all of us. It'd be silly of me to not comment on some natural talent and kind of qualities you build in your career. Of course, I think that willingness to work hard was dare I say, kind of a differentiator I felt at the start of my career. Kind of in your early 20s, mid 20s, it can be easy to say, I've got so much time. Let me I'll pick up some stuff, I'll move along as I go, and I'll develop and enhance my career. But for me, it was almost a race against myself. It was this, okay, if I can work 2 extra hours a day by learning from people, sitting with them, or I won't go home at 6 o'clock, maybe 7 o'clock. That slight difference. Yes. Yeah. I sat with finance. I used to sit with some of the development team. How does this bit of technology work? Didn't have a clue, but it carries with you, and you keep it, and then you're creating this picture. You're picking up bits from all parts of the business: back office, middle office, front of house. You're listening to things you think are done well, things you think are not done well. You're building some opinions, perspectives. And I felt like I was there for about 3 years, and that felt like a young age. When you're at the start of your career, there are choices as well about, do you move, do you stay and look to progress? And they're important, brave decisions. I went to a company after Alpari that were far smaller, less established, a bit unpolished, say it like that. So what I brought in was also some new experience. So it was an interesting feeling for me, coming in with some added value because of my time from Alpari. And you're given more responsibility, you get empowered, you come in at a slightly senior level. This was a kind of I was at a senior level, and then within a year was head of a small team, 2 or 3 of us. Mm-hmm. But that was my first experience then. This is like 24, 25. Now I'm managing people. And that changed. That was a great inflection point. That changed everything from managing yourself to be disciplined, focused, organized, to then being responsible for other people to perform is a complete shift, right? It's I think everyone that's been through that transition, that's a line in your career at that point. You go from being self-motivating and self-organizing to then, okay, actually him and her need to produce and contribute. And I need to understand them and motivate them, strengths, all that stuff. Personalities, cultural difference, everything comes in then, and then you're working through that.
You should be careful a little bit in London with the cultural differences. People get sued with this kind 100%. Of things.
Yeah. So it was, I would say in my career, that was one of the most important points, as we all have more than one. It's kind of a line in the sand. I was given a lot of trust when I went to GKFX. There was a lot of ability to kind of stretch, grow, fail, learn, kind of progress things. I hadn't heard of them, to be honest, when I went there. I Googled, had a little look.
You should have asked me.
But it's true, when you're like that, and you don't have a family, you didn't have a partner, your responsibilities are lighter. You make quick decisions based on instinct and guts, and you either succeed or not with them, and then you live with it.
Me, I usually talk with everyone, but not everyone is listening. So, so it's a different story.
Yeah. But it took me to the point with GKFX, which was, and there I grew from having 0 headcount to over 4 years, I would have had about 50, 60 people, 4, 5, 6 direct reports. And they just built out organically as the business needed something new, created, defined. And then it took me to the end when I left as kind of director of operations with aligning to the managing director at this point. And I'm proud of what we contributed as a team, what I did there, but you need, like, a company has to recognize something the other way around, whether that's your manager, whether it's generally the company, they have to recognize something. And I just remember collecting all these feelings and thoughts along my way as to what I enjoyed coming up, what I didn't enjoy, what I'd want from a company. And in all honesty, at this point, I hadn't really built an aspiration to be a CEO and to kind of partner at the start of a journey and have that stress and responsibility. It wasn't in there at this point. And then when I moved to the next company that I was at, it developed there. It just shone through at that point for me. Again, another place that trusted and gave me a lot of responsibility. I got to test and push kind of my thoughts, my kind of approach to certain things. But something just showed up. I don't know why. It just showed up at a point. And I remember saying to my wife at the time, I don't know why, but at some point I'm going to have to do something that's from zero. Like it's at some point. I don't know why. I don't know when. There's an itch now.
A calling.
Yeah, it just showed up, and I guess it built over time. It wasn't a Monday I woke up and today it's here. It just was there, and then as soon as I felt it, I couldn't. It doesn't go away. And then the opportunity that came with Rostro was in some ways perfectly timed and equally on paper one of the most kind of riskiest times to take this decision. Because my son, my first boy, was 2 months old.
Congratulations.
Yes, at this point, learning to be a dad, figuring that out, and this opportunity came with Roger Hambry, who's our UBO. And Roger and I'd known each other for about 4 or 5 years before this, with kind of business relationships, and very quickly through a few conversations, we aligned on like key things, like the principles of the business, how we wanted people to feel working for the company. We didn't get too far into the nitty-gritty of technical pieces and customer stuff. It was all around like building something where good people could come together, enjoy working together, be bold, be brave, try and get into a crowded place, which is what the kind of broker-dealer space is. And I went to my wife and said, listen, it's, you told her the truth.
You told her the truth.
I was like, I'm going to explain something, and this is where I'm at. She was like, okay. And she was brilliant, to be honest. She could have, and on paper should have said, listen, our boy is only a month too. This sounds very risky. You spent 4 years.
I can imagine you with a PowerPoint presentation. we are moving from London to Dubai. Slide one, synopsis.
You try to, I don't know about you guys, but I'm sure you're logical thinkers. You try to map lots of things out. You consider various outcomes, paths. You do all of that in your head. But then you sit with your family.
Yep.
It's a different conversation. It's got to be about if you're taking a big risk in your career or moving to a new location, like we were chatting about with Dubai. It's a huge impact on partners, children,
of course,
your home dynamics, that life side of life. So I went from kind of everything checked out on the business level, and I was really confident that whatever challenges and risks would show up in the business side, we would overcome, we'd manage, we'd do our thing. So I was really, really comfortable. I think she felt that, okay, it's reassuring. He's not nervous. He's acknowledged that this is a risk. This is something that may or may not work. But he's also told me before that he needs to do this at some point. And here we are, newborn held in arm almost, ready to watch his dad go and do something. Awesome. But yeah, it's when is the right time to do something like this? Is it a point of life, or is it when the right opportunity comes? I think the latter is more important, and that's when it's more kind of destiny, and this type of thing shows up. So it's less about, okay, I need to be this age. Once I'm over, no, I can't do that. It was more around just when does the opportunity come, and then it came. It may never have done, but it did, and I'm excited to see it and get to talk about Rostro for that now.
Awesome story.
And I wanted to ask you, what was the start for Rostro? Are we going to build our own broker, or it was always part to acquire someone that is generating some revenues but is struggling? What was the plan?
It's a good question. I mean, so we had one broker dealer license within the group.
Oh, you had one?
Yeah, we had one in Mauritius that was a B2B business for us. Okay. And it was doing well, it's profitable, very lean operation, very light touch B2B, servicing some key relationships and working like that. And Roger's background, mine was kind of in the trading world. So you feel comfortable with the idea of generating income. We may have not scaled as much as we could have done. We may have not had the best marketing plans, but we made money. So, okay, do we carry on this path? And actually we were looking at doing an organic route initially. So we were looking to apply with SciSec, and we were looking to where else, what other licenses do we want to look at? And there was 8 of us in the company at this point. And the opportunity found its way coming to us with regards to the acquisition of Scope. So Roger was approached, phoned me, had a quick chat, said, look, let's reconcile what we plan to do. At this point, it was 3/4 clear, not 100%, every location, every license we're going to need for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, we sat down and said, okay, this has a fit for most parts. It was a great opportunity for us. Yeah. I think that business needed some energy and impetus to come in. That's what we felt. I mean, we were bringing that. Yeah. And for us, it was the infrastructure, it was the people, the technology, the offices, even the third-party technology. It just gave us a head start, having the relevant platforms, this kind of stuff just existed in the business because we were coming from zero. Mm-hmm. Yep. So every contract needed to be reviewed and signed. Every single piece of technology needed to be integrated and launched. Even simple things like DocuSign, it's stuff that you need to start from zero. The list is you're surprised what sits on a list, right? Yes. So this gave us a head start. We felt like a couple of years. And then we took that business on, built more from our B2B side, and then we started to push into retail. So that was the complete start of retail for our group.
Okay. Michael, when you conduct an M&A, an acquisition, then usually you have two different cultures, naturally, company cultures merging or colliding together. Mm. What was this experience for you? What were the values that you as a company had that were maybe different from Scope Market? So how was this experience for you in those days, bringing two teams together?
I love this style of question, this topic, because as we were going through the due diligence process and we knew we were getting to the end point, okay, we're going to sign, we're going to complete on this deal. We met internally and I mapped out a 90-day plan, a 180-day plan. There was this integration of technology and all this good stuff, what we're going to do with clients. There was nothing in there about how do we bring the people together. So everything on paper was hard, but measurable in some ways. Like tech is, it can surprise you a bit, but it's tech. It's there. It's in front of you. You can talk about it. It doesn't have emotion. It won't feel something if you say something to it or change your mind on something. Markets, again, for us was a comfort. We're familiar. We understood there will be good times, tough times. We'll manage that. We'll put our risk controls in place. We had all of this mapped out. And then it was, so we had about 8 staff at this point in Rostro Group. And we flew to Cyprus, myself and three others of the kind of more senior team.
So half the company flew.
Half the company. 50% were on the same plane. Exactly like that.
Same plane, like
same plane.
Total risk.
There was a lot of key man risk at this point. That's what we're here to tell the story now. And we were in Cyprus on the Sunday. So we met and we did a very simple kind of town hall announcing to all of Scope staff, which at the time was about 160 people.
Wow.
That Rostro Group, who no one had heard of, was announced as a thing, a brand, an entity. Okay, who are they? As well as that, we've acquired Scope. It was all in the same message. Oh, and by the way, hi, I'm here with some of the team, and I'm going to be in the office in an hour. It's Monday morning. It was like, be in the office an hour or two. So we did the town hall. I introduced myself, explained a bit about who we were at the time.
How about the faces?
There was a lot of, I think, as you can imagine, mixed emotions. There would have been some good feeling about, okay, this typically means that someone coming in from a position of strength wants and sees value.
Yep.
So that means positive should come. Yes. Then the wave of personal, like, is my job safe? Where do I sit within the new organization? How many people do they have? And I think that if we'd have come in with 150 of our own, naturally a lot of attrition and consolidation happens because we would have had duplication of roles. Thankfully, we didn't. It was part of the acquisition was we don't have a lot of these teams of people to do stuff. So let's go and take advantage of that.
So when they said, how big is the team? You're like, the team is here.
Almost. You're looking at it pretty much.
Nice.
And it was, and then we left it for a few hours, let everyone just digest, surprise the news. And then we came in the office in the afternoon, went around, said hi to everyone, spent the week there, just saying hello, meeting people. And what came after that was the biggest complexity for me in my role and to date in my career has been that period of time in terms of figuring out how to integrate, even though it was only 8 people, integrating and making people feel like we were one company And for quite a long time, there was a feeling of them and us that existed, because the more well-known brand that had existed for longer with more people had been absorbed and acquired by the smaller, less well-known company above it, which was unusual, it was a bit uncommon. And it took a long time for people to feel like they could trust what was going on. Who are these new people? For me, it was trying to figure out the shape, the dynamic, because we were also recruiting. So it's like you've got your original team members from Rostro, then the team members that came with the acquisition at Scope, but we're also hiring in people from other third-party companies, and that's the sprinkling them in at the same time. And it made me realize, and I only really crystallized what I learned 3 or 4, 5 months ago, because we've now brought in we have a chief people and organization officer at the group, and it was a completely new, it was the role I never realized or knew that I would need and the business would need. Today, there's about 260 of us globally, about 10 offices, different time zones, cultural differences. It's still what it is. It's complicated, it's complex. And I'd gone about the first year or two kind of just, yep, I'll move that person. Yep, okay, let's move this team. And I made some right decisions, a lot of wrong decisions for sure. How I communicated decisions wasn't great. I trusted my instinct, but it was the first time for me as a CEO looking into the business, and the people need communication to be better, clearer. Why was something that they needed to understand, not just what, which I did more of when I was in my kind of operational seat. It was a lot more, I'm working towards someone else's vision and someone else's strategy. So I was delivering on tasks. And we hadn't even got to the point of establishing company values that on the wall.
I was about to ask you that,
We didn't have them, to be honest. And then we took a while to put them up. We only mobilized them at the start of this year. And that was a choice, because we could have gone to a few companies, competitors, picked some great words, inspiring words, put them on the wall and ticked, okay, they exist. But we spoke about, well, we've been late to kind of add them into the business. And then last year we did a few working groups internally with staff, and we turned it around. We asked staff, like, what would you say is in today's, we're 3 years in at this point. What do you feel? What do we stand for? What's happening now? And they brought through things like collaboration, integrity, ingenuity.
Oh, wow.
So we did it almost bottom up, rather than senior stakeholders saying, these are the ones we hear are great, and I'm going to pick some big US listed firms and see if I can replicate them. And I think that's part of what made us unique. It's not right or wrong, is how we felt. It was, we came together in an unusual way. 8 members of one company, startup.
So how many of these 8 members are still with the company?
I think half. So 4 of us are still here.
Yeah. So the ones on the plane?
Probably. And you know what? The others are still like great friends. I think it was organic. It was organic, actually.
You guys have a lot of stickiness. People who come and work for your group, they actually stay. And this is very rare in our industry. So, I mean, what you guys have done is it's very good to set this kind of standard with human resources. But usually people tend to, when they're in a one-way road, or they cannot speak to their manager, or something went wrong in the department, they tend to leave. But you guys, I think you're doing it the right way. Yeah,
I appreciate that. I think, we're not perfect, but I think we aimed to be people driven. We're still growing. We're still launching new products. We're still succeeding in, say, commercial, corporate goals, objectives. But we also said that we wanted to be quite strict around, you can't eliminate it all, but as little politics at the top of the business. It can't be zero.
Yeah.
But if we see it, we try to react to it quite quickly. We're very, very open and direct with each other. It's work to be like that, to be honest. I think it's a certain type of skill from the top I'm talking now. It's a certain type of skill where no one wants to give an uncomfortable comment, feedback, conversation. Like it's naturally we want to give good news and not bad news, right? But we've tried to teach each other that actually we need it. I need to know if I'm being too aggressive in our expansion plans, and the business and the leaders are sat there thinking, we need to focus on something else.
Yes.
And not, okay, let's just do what Mike said.
Yes.
And then we try to filter down throughout the business that people feel trusted. And by all stretch, we're not perfect. I think we just pay a lot of attention to trying to do this and then to improve it.
Yes.
Communication for us, town halls used to be monthly at the start. They're now quarterly. It's where we got
It cannot be monthly. We had also this big discussion.
Yeah.
But I was also against quarterly. I thought half a year will be better, but I think quarterly is necessary.
Quarterly's good.
Half a year, they forget about you.
Yeah. Well, I think we might fall into the over communication category somehow, and Rostro probably is in that category because we have a company newsletter that we roll out in between. It's a chance for people to read something that they've already heard on a town hall or somewhere else, but it's in their own time, and they read it. They turn to their teammates. Hey, did you see that? What does that mean? It's in there, a bit more detail than a town hall. I learned that town halls are one direction conversation, right? No matter how many times I want to ask and still ask at the end, any questions from anyone, I may get one.
But in your town hall, do you get more than one person talking, or is it just you?
So far, it's just been me.
So we also try to put up to 5. It's very hard.
Yeah.
So, but if you have like 2 or 3 people talking, it's very nice. So you can touch a little bit upon the vision, the strategy, and then you can bring someone from operations or from payments or even from trading. And then you can have someone as well on the marketing side, what you will see in the streets in the next couple of months.
It's a really good point. I think we'll roll that. There's something we've touched on that we need to do next year, because the team we've shared certain moments of speaking to the company. They've been separate. And I think sometimes what that does is people have to remember, the general staff who don't hear it all the time. What did Mike say last month? And then next month it may be the chief marketing officer. Now I need to remember what parts of that connect and what they mean. But I like your point around a town hall where I can speak and then bring others in. Yeah.
You can bring like 2 or 3 hot topics. I mean, not a lot, and then you can open it and still close it. Yeah. We used to have the same structure as well in the past. Yeah.
Michael, I wanted to ask you because you said that the communication is 2-way. So would be very curious, how you do it. I just humbly to say the way I used to do it with the organizations that I have founded, we had an anonymous survey where it was said, what should we be doing that we're not doing? What should we be continuing doing? And what should we stop doing, And I remember it was always the what should we stop doing was the longest.
If you remind me, I will also say a funny story after Michael.
But how do you do this 2-way communication?
So we started last year, some of what you described around getting kind of anonymous. So we've been doing staff surveys since 2022. So the month after February 22 was when we announced the takeover. And in March, we did a anonymous survey. The goal with that was just, I want to know today, what's the lay of today across the business. Let's figure out what's under the surface, what people are thinking, what they're curious about. And then every 6 months, we do something like this. We changed the structure of it last year. And there were these focus groups that we brought in. We haven't done them as frequent. And they tend to be driven by some of our kind of people, exec team members. And they get the people in different levels of the company to come together, kind of drive the conversations. We then created last year in November what we called our people priorities. We took everything that fed into us from staff, and there's a 3-year plan. We called it a program. There's a 3-year program now of what we want to do. Tons of work. Some of that needed us just to hire people, bring in staff to lead this for us. And then there's things like, I do these coffee mornings. So they're very casual and they're on screen in as much as what we do now and lots of things that we do because people are all around the world. So I go function by function, and that's about 25, 26 coffee mornings a year. So about 1 every 2 weeks. And the concept is, and this was last year, we'd come in and say exactly the questions you asked. What do you like? Do you want to see more of or make sure we maintain? what are you looking for that's missing, that you need us to add? And typically that would be where there's more, because people want to take the opportunity to ask for something new or different. Yeah. And I'd listen and I'd explain to people, I'm not going to leave every meeting and take action. It's data for me. If I spot after 10 coffee mornings, 6 of them have had the same theme around something that's missing, for me it's okay, that's the one I need to solve. Yep. Otherwise it's a constant, it could be something different from any type of team that you speak to.
Yes.
But this year we shifted the coffee mornings to be more around strategy. So I asked the team members, is there anything in our town halls, anything we're doing as a business that you're like, why is that? What's the purpose? What's the goal? Have I missed something that you felt would have been important to know? I'd say they work well. I don't think anything's perfect, but I can sit and think at some point throughout the year, depending on the timings of any new starter, at some point throughout the year, every single person in the company has had a moment to talk like this directly with me without a town hall or 100 other people listening, and just say, actually, I have a question. It might be a silly one, but it's probably not. Why did you do that? Or why did you decide this? And they're often talking to me as the whole business. Like, why did we open the office? Or why did we not offer this product a certain way? And they share things that I wouldn't be close to. Do you understand that some of the manual tasks are challenging, time consuming? Yep. Like, okay, I'm hearing this stuff. I may not solve it myself individually. I may take data like that and go and speak to the right senior stakeholders, and we can set priorities. Yeah. So we've made it a big goal of ours to listen. I think the key bit for us now is listening and then the actions that follow through.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm doing some of this stuff for the first time without having been somewhere where I've been the other way around, to be honest. So some of this is instinct. Some of this is what I would have liked to have seen when I was younger in a company. Yeah. And then listening to some of the team that are around me, the senior guys that have worked in different places and have that different perspective.
Yeah, but you need to remember, because the filter is you.
For sure.
Yeah. Not all the information is correct as well.
100%. I think I fell for this at the start. I think at the beginning I was, wow, so much I need to fix, so much I need to correct. And then I realized after about 4 or 5, okay, this isn't going to be sustainable. Yes. So I need to go, what do I do with this information from here? That's the important thing. Yes. It's one thing for staff to feel, he listens. But if they see no impact, no change, after a while, it's why do I bother saying anything to this guy? Yes. But what we took, and your point perfect, was I'd sit back and think, okay, some of this is what's noise, a moment of time, a thing from yesterday they're going to mention today. So I hear them, I let them speak, and then probably tomorrow they're going to, I'm good. So I don't need to react, don't need to respond and do anything. Where are there local types of issues? Is it a team thing? Is it one office thing? And I pick that up and take that and speak to the right people. But the macro was where I would sit and think, can I get 1 or 2 significantly impactful things that I want to introduce a year? 1 or 2 that if we then prioritize this or do this, that 30, 40, 50% of the company will feel it's a positive impact to them, whatever that might be. Focusing more on technology, making internal operations feel like they're getting more support. What are the themes that I would pick out and then try to work through?
Awesome.
But in action is an action, because you have limited resources. So I think you're doing it the right way. Maybe I can tell this story.
Please tell the story, but go ahead.
I cannot remember where it was, or maybe I don't want
remember exactly. But
so the head of HR had this brilliant idea to put an anonymous box. So in the first week or the second week, someone came in and put this piece of paper inside the box. And he was talking about the head of HR, as you can understand. So I was in the management team. So the head of HR came and said, listen, there is no need for anonymous boxes. The information might not be the right information. And at this point of time, we do not need it.
Finished.
And then the anonymous box was finished.
Gone,
yeah. And this is a true story, actually.
Yes.
I think what we said is the important part. Like, there's a lot of companies, and we get surveys. You grab a coffee from around the corner from a Starbucks, they will ask you for feedback, survey, how was your experience? We're constantly asked for this data. We care less when it's something like that.
Yeah.
To think 6 months later, did they take it on board? Did the thing I felt could have been quicker or better happen? But because we spend so much time working more with colleagues than family, it felt important for us to go, actually, staff will need to see some of this turn into outcomes.
Yeah.
And I was taught from some of the team, they kind of counseled me, a few of the guys as we went, which was really helpful. If we can't deliver, or if we choose not to, equally explain.
Yeah.
So we will say we're going to make that thing happen, but we've decided not to do this other thing because as a business, we're not aiming to be the best at everything. It's impossible to be fast and disciplined and innovative at the same time as being. There's things that will pull businesses, and you have to choose trade-offs.
Yes.
To what we prioritize as things to do. It's equally important when we say, actually, those asks, this is just not going to be what we're focused on as a company. We acknowledge it, explain that to people.
Naturally, revenue generation projects needs to come first.
I think
Naturally.
it's
At some point.
everywhere we've ever been, they sit at the front. Look, we've been places, and now we've had this same chat earlier today, and now this is a industry, whatever type of financial service product you provide, you are a profit-focused business, like you are, and you make it in different ways. You may have different rates of return, kind of risk appetites. All that stuff can be different. But if you're in our world, and that could be anything to do with financial services, but you don't get positive cash flow at some point as a business, model's not viable, and everything else becomes secondary. So, cash is king. As people 100%. Kind of talk to.
Always without jeopardizing compliance and regulation.
100%.
Nice.
Compliance.
Michael, I feel our audience is getting a masterclass in leadership, in driving organizations, in managing people, inspiring them, but also to drive the topic a little bit on a tangent note. You have been in the finance industry since the 2008, the glorious 2008. You're in finance industry now. You also have a very good outlook where the industry is going. So can you paint a picture for the audience a little bit? How was it to trade and reconcile trades in 2008 as the whole world was imploding?
Everyone comes from a trading background now.
Yeah, actually, it's true.
In this podcast.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit like how does this look like today compared to previous? And also, what do you think as the latest trends that you see in the industry, or maybe something that your organization wants to offer in the future?
Absolutely. There'll be some listeners when this comes out in the company who will laugh at my answer to the next one.
I hope it's not a surprise for them.
Well, I use it as a metaphor, but it's based on real life of myself. Kind of starting in the industry with reconciliation as my primary task, super manual. Yeah. I used to have to print. We had single bank access and clearing for FX, so I would print UBS, I would go JP Morgan, print off of their own systems, print our own internal back office, and I would sit and I would go through ticking and using a highlighter. It was all super manual. Something didn't match, go back to the systems, click a refresh button, it would come through. Then see the one broker we traded with on the institutional side put the wrong value date. It would take 30 minutes to do a reconciliation that was supposed to be done every 3 hours. And you would just do this round the clock. And we would never have had a clear view of our exposure. It was always some sort of tolerance because it just couldn't have been. That's how it was. We didn't have auto reconciliation. We didn't have centralized reporting. It was all independent platform that we were working with. And today it's all about the speed and efficiency of doing as many tasks as possible, as quick as possible. But if we went back to when I started and thought about operational risk and human error, I mean, it was everywhere, pretty much. It was just everywhere. I think part of what existed also back then was that the margins for income were wider, slightly protecting businesses from being less efficient, which I wouldn't have known at the time. Talk about spreads, they've compressed over the last 15, 20 years. I've seen it we try to stay away from this race to zero concept. It's, can we provide some value over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years that customers are willing to pay for? So we're not just winning on being cheap. Because when we started, and I remember sitting, spreads were 3-4 times what they are today. So people could make errors, people could make mistakes, things could be dropped, missed, seen the next day. But there was all this income just being captured that came through. I guess it links somewhat to what we see as the direction of travel for fintech. We've been careful as a group. I would say the acquisition was a period of time where we focused really on integrating and improving what we had acquired. That was our goal. Don't get distracted by, we had tons of opportunities come to our table to invest, acquire other companies, technology, digital assets, other CFD brokers. And we always explored, but we took the disciplined approach of let's make the most and the best of what we've done so far before we jump to the next kind of shiny toy. And then we got to this point where September last year, we launched what we call Brand 360. We redesigned the Scope brand and we launched that. And we went this year on this big kind of push in terms of launching new asset classes and building out a bunch of different platforms we integrated with this year. And then we stopped and said, okay, now when we plan for next year, we expect to grow, but what are the main things and themes in the industry? What are the hurdles and obstacles that a company that's been around, we're 4 years old. If I'm 20, 25 years old and carrying on as we are, what's that headache? Like what's that problem, that risk, that thing that might take us off track or slow us down or see us hit a ceiling? So topics like automation naturally came in. And that's why, going back to how I started my career, it's ironic because it's almost the theme has never stopped existing. But we've been discussing how not to automate is probably one of the ways I would describe it. We don't want to automate bad processes. So you take a load of technology and tools and products and you put them around stuff and then it's still not delivering what the business needs. So we've sat around and said, actually, we need to really focus more on making sure the processes that are designed in the business, all our systems, what policies, frameworks, are they appropriate in terms of governance and control? But are they also supporting us to be effective, nimble, scalable, move forwards? And then looking at automation, then the lovely words of AI pop up on people's minds, right? So I took us there from a place of highlighters and biros in 2008.
But the AI is still hallucinating.
It's still there. And I'll be honest, we're very keen and we're looking at how we can leverage AI. Yeah. We use AI in the business today in a few places, primarily from key third-party products that we use. So there are particular pieces of technology we're using to do things like cybersecurity, surveillance.
Yes.
That's one where we're powering the business with AI support, I would say. Some of our trading analysis and kind of consuming of all the pricing that comes in, and then running our monitoring tools. We're pricing semi-automatically, I would say, with AI. There's still some human intervention, of course, with it. When you have the president that can send a tweet and the whole market environment turns on its head and everything you've analyzed becomes wrong.
Everything is broken.
You have to have an element of human touch in moments. But AI for us we've kind of broken it into two. We've said, what can we do with AI that can power the business to be efficient, scalable? That's the automation, the tools, how do we not need to overhire as we keep growing in the future with more bodies, more people? And then we've created something that is very soon about to be announced. We haven't pushed it out necessarily yet to the market. It's an internal brand. It's sort of a philosophy, I guess, by design. So Rostro Labs. Rostro Labs is a home. It's an identity for us where we will bring external people in to work with a few key stakeholders from inside the company to talk about kind of next gen technology, forward-thinking ideas that we can bring in the business. So it's kind of permissioned to be a bit radical, a bit controversial,
That's very good.
It may break something, but might be worth it. And it's that style. And then you do all the rest afterwards. Let's not break something. But it's a safe place it's like a think tank forum where debate, discuss. There are some really smart people inside the company that we want to kind of bring in the right environment. Because the thing we wanted to avoid with AI is to go out and just try and put it everywhere because it sounds cool and it sounds like you'd be a better business for it. So I'm not going to email all our staff and say, can you just send me your ideas for AI and just start next week? Because the concern was, what's the actual objective? Like, what's the net effect of all of that? We could write some nice articles about it. We could talk about it. I could be here making things sound great, but we said it's a powerful way of solving lots of manual pieces of recurring work that exists in the business. We have tons of transactions, whether that's payments, whether it's trades, whether it's pricing, processing of stuff that people have to come in every day. And at 9 a.m. they have to start the same things that they started the day before. And tomorrow they'll have to do the same. We said, how can we help make some of that go away, figure that out, give those people time to go and create more value and impact so they're not doing lots of manual work. And then separately to that, what does the future of the world need? Big, bold, special types of conversations need to sit. And how do we make sure they get the right level of attention? So Rostro Labs was formed to give that sort of home, point at it. If you're there, be bold, come in with something you've read, heard, throw an idea on the table. There are things that are discussed in there that are beyond my technical knowledge. There are things that I'm happy to hear people talking. Tokenization is something that we brought in there. That's a theme. We've got some really smart guys that are certainly more equipped than myself to kind of go into detail around it. But it was for me just, how do I give people that permission to go out and do that and say, you can innovate, you can think differently, break the status quo. And if we get something that sounds like, oh, that's one we need to think about, then we bring in some other people and think about what does it mean? How do we get that to happen? We're a crowded industry. We're all fighting for 1% of something. It's can you do something with marketing?
For the same client.
For the same end customer somewhere in the world to come and either trade or invest or own some sort of asset with you guys or with us or with all of our competitors that have been in the expos. And we're all talking similar things. We took a big step this year around what we call kind of true multi-asset. So we offer a huge range of CFD products, but we also have upgraded all of our licenses across the group to be able to offer securities. So physical shares, fixed income. We've integrated with Ayres and then CQG for DMA equities, DMA futures. So we can offer CME products, but properly. Yes, you can have the CFD. We can give you the synthetic. Equally, if you want on-exchange derivatives or if you want securities, they exist. So for us, it was trying to stand out was a combination of things. I think the industry genuinely, I think, needs more multi-asset solutions. This might be a bold sentence to say, and there's a lot of bigger, successful companies, but a lot of people use multi-asset and it's not multi-asset.
Yes, for sure.
You're offering CFDs, and you have the underlying products pricing
There's
those
also
CFDs.
public traded companies that say they're offering
100%, 100%. And I admire competition, and some of these guys are growing tremendously and they're doing great in their countries and their regions, etc. But we're trading at our core business. So when we come and say multi-asset, a customer can come and say, oh, can I move my stock portfolio from a regional bank to you guys because you're more cost effective and you can offer me international product? Yeah, no problem. You can move that in through give up. We can lend against it where you can finance some of that portfolio. True multi-asset means you can do all these extra things in terms of functionality and kind of the way you offer the products to clients. Next year, we'll be pushing this a lot from a marketing perspective, but the AI piece for us is where we've got some sort of bug with it. And I know we're not alone. I'm sure you guys are having lots of conversations about how and what it can do.
I think nowadays we're having how many AIs are we using?
Exactly. And how do they compare? And
how many monthly subscriptions?
Yeah.
I think I pay around 5 and you pay also a little bit more.
I piggyback on yours, by the way. Just now reminded you actually. Michael, when we were preparing for the podcast, I had a question that I want to ask again now is, how does your organization leverage actually digital assets? Because Demetrios and myself been in this space for many years. For many years, we've been saying it's going mainstream. So maybe coming it from your words, are digital assets, crypto, stablecoins, are they becoming integral part of your business? And kind of what do you see there happening, at least in the brokerage space?
I think the short answer is yes, absolutely. The longer answer, and I think I'll talk for our experience with it, is we're designing a group that by 20, so we have a vision 2030 that we created from 2021. It was a 10-year view at what we wanted to achieve. And the 2030 vision had us being the intersection of traditional and decentralized finance coming together. So taking digital assets, taking traditional products that have existed for a long, long time, and being somewhere for a customer that you can get access to both. Yeah. We may not be the strongest at one or the other, but we will be incredibly strong and good enough at both in terms of offering access to both to the end customer. So we definitely believe that it's going to be mainstream. We've spent more time researching in the last 12, 16 months than doing anything yet. We have parts of our business, some of our entities are able to offer CFD trading, and we launched a new product recently, about 2 weeks ago, kind of prime of prime offering for CFDs in kind of 80 different tokens. We naturally see most 98% of the volume is in Bitcoin and Ethereum against the dollar, right? It's the most where we have the two-way, etc.
And you need everything for marketing purpose.
Exactly. So we had that internal debate, and we all knew where we would end up. We just ended up there anyway. So we've done that, and what we've focused on is we took a decision in the company that we would never try to offer something if we weren't confident that it would succeed in its own right. So the group has various pillars. We have different brands. We're launching other brands next year. The group as a whole will have a range of different products, services that clients get access to in different brands, but that we would never offer something just because it was popular or someone else had offered it, because we felt we need the confidence and the conviction. If we roll something out, we believe it has years of, or infinite lifetime. So we weren't going to try and catch when BTC was moving to all-time highs earlier in the year. Quick, guys, let's do something. So no, we want to be ready when we're ready.
Yes. Yeah.
So we know that we can stand behind the offering. So today we can confidently do that. And digital assets for us is coming more and more into our planning, our conversations. We're looking at licensing requirements in this region. We've looked in other regions to go out and get right licensing in place. Talent is one thing that we've been debating and discussing. I'll speak as someone that's not, I'm more TradFi than DeFi, certainly if you cut me in half, you'll see more of one than the other. But I'm catching up and I'm learning and I'm listening to some smart people. But one of my biggest fears with the digital asset space is finding and bringing in good talent that genuinely understands how the product works, its differences, whether that's compliance, finance, commercial. It might be wrong what I feel. I had this feeling that it's out of nowhere, there's a lot of, is the phrase crypto bros, and this type of thing just happens to be there where there's a lot of people that can talk to it. But can they come work, deliver, produce?
The problem is deliver. You will find a lot of people that they have encyclopedia knowledge and they will be able to talk to you about who is Satoshi Nakamoto, what is happening, what are the trends, how nice was the white paper. But if you put this person to deliver this product in this amount of time with these resources, you will struggle.
Yeah. Yes. That's it. We'll get there. We're looking at which regions across our offices is the best place to go and bring talent. Yeah. I think here is certainly one of the top places, right? And we were chatting before about how long we've all been here and how we find it. And it's attracting people, which means the pool should be getting fuller with talent. Okay, there's more companies coming, so the competitive landscape is shifting. But generally speaking, if there's more good people here and the regulatory framework is clear, and then you can establish businesses here and partnerships, that working to each other's strengths, that kind of thing. Yeah. This is a really good place for us to think about how digital assets works for our group. Yeah. I would say we're still in the research and planning point, but we're very close to launching a few additional things at the start of next year, which we're excited about. But the pricing piece that we recently did has been phenomenal. Okay. It's been very, very good. It took us a year to get everything done, as good things take.
How long was the original plan? Maybe 3 months, 6 months?
I think about 3 months, because you write it on paper and you assume nothing else will ever need to be done at the same time in the business. So everyone's just going to work on this. This is what we'll do. Bravo, off we go. But we learned after about 6 months that the initial plan was too simple and too ambitious. So instead of just rushing every month, when is it ready? When is it ready? We said, let's just recalibrate. What does this plan actually need to look like? Okay, it needs more time. People were busy. I think of our legal team, they're working on everything in the group. Yeah, at the moment we have people that are group focused, some are brand focused, some are product focused. But yeah, it's certainly, to answer your point and kind of close the loop, I think it's 100% being widely adopted and here to stay.
Awesome. Maybe also just to ask you a question closer related to what we discussed today is that you were working in London, in UK, and then you moved to UAE, and now here residing and living and working. What is the difference there between UK and UAE? How does the culture and the business interact with each other? What are the learning experiences that you have actually accumulated here or obtained here, kind of understanding the two ways of doing things?
So I love and loved London. It's kind of two modes of answering that question. I think it had to be there as someone that came in when I came into the industry. I think London was the place to be from 2000, probably before my time, but for me it was 2008 all the way through to Brexit. Felt like a line in the sand psychologically, even though the day after it wasn't, and the media, everything's different situation, but it just opened people. And before that, businesses, because financial services has been a key component of what makes London what London is. It's for the whole economy, not just for people like us to talk about our products and services. And it used to be the place where everyone wanted to be. They wanted their HQ to be there. Talent pool. It's all the good stuff that we talk about probably for here now. And in the lead up to Brexit, I felt like it opened people's eyes to think, okay, well, where else would we want to put a footprint? Whether it's HQ or not, it forced the conversations about other EU territories. Cyprus was one we touched on earlier. Cyprus had already had a popularity in our world, but it became more popular. Germany, Amsterdam, with some of its trading infrastructure, some of the businesses there started to show up. And then I feel like progressively over time, what I've sensed personally from being there is there's still a huge amount of strong talent and good businesses. It hasn't completely disappeared, but it's a slightly different atmosphere when you're in the UK. I feel, in contrast, what we see here, London compared to Dubai, you have a spring in your step. There's an energy that it creates. I mean, the regulators are clear and looking to work towards being as clear as possible consistently. They're open for business. They want to attract talent. We've seen the DFSA having record applicants coming in for asset management firms, broker dealers. They're coming from Singapore, from Switzerland, UK. And now you're seeing major firms having offices here. So I remember traveling here and it felt like it was a good hub for GCC or Arabic speaking territories. You have an office in Dubai, it's a branch. Yeah. That was the old method and ways we would have set up here. And then slowly it's become truly multinational, and the talent that exists here, the network that you're able to find. Look at us having this conversation. True. I doubt if the three of us were in London, this would be where we're sat.
We will all be exhausted from catching 3 trains each of us.
Probably public transport would have done its thing and hurt our energy for the day. Yes. But here it's different. You feel like you want to go and meet people, talk about things, have conversations, you get introductions. You go to a hotel lobby and look around, there's people having coffees, meetings, business conversations. It's like we touched on earlier around the typical expat journey is one that business brings them here, whether that's because it's a link to East and West, whether it's digital asset frameworks being clear, whether it's the talent pool, whatever it is that brings people here. It's often business first, and then you see, can I settle with family, partners, that kind of thing. And I think because of that, what we're all surrounded by is people that have that same entrepreneurial energy, enthusiasm. You want to make introductions, help each other progress. And I felt like I've moved 5% quicker just in every way I need to for the business. I've even met people that when we were both in London, we would find it difficult to sync up to have a meeting.
True.
Yet somehow when the person visits Dubai, it's happened.
Yeah, it's much easier.
And you just have that mindset when you come here.
Yes.
And you bring in all these other things like the safety element, which we touched on earlier.
Safety is number one here.
It's phenomenal. You know, if you're out late at night, you leave your car unlocked, if you have kids, you feel here, great. It's not to say it will never happen and just be kind of blasé, but it's comparatively, it's a completely different feeling. And I think this is one of the only places in the world where you do genuinely feel like that. You can walk down the street after having a dinner at midnight and you feel safe, you feel fine. Good weather, there's a lot of commercial benefits for businesses and individuals, and that helps when you're bringing in talent and looking to retain talent. So yeah, there's an element of sad, if I'm honest, about London. There is an element when you've lived there a long time and you've worked a long time there. We still have great talent that are based there. We still see a lot of good business that are based there. So it's not a completely different thing, but I see it more that it's the positive draw of what Dubai and the UAE is certainly kind of bringing to the table. So yeah, it's more of that, I would say.
Awesome.
Anton, should we ask Michael where people can find him?
You are reading my mind. Yes. Please.
Mind reader. Please.
Yes, Michael. So I know you guys are very busy usually, either at the conferences, at events. So if people want to get in touch with you, with a senior executive, successful one like yourself, or with your team, what is kind of in plan on your side? Is there any special big events that you plan to attend, either here in the region or globally? How does your plan look like?
So we'll, on the kind of broker side, we'll be sponsoring the expo in the middle of February. It is the IFX Expo.
Okay. Both the one in Cyprus and here, or just the?
We'll be doing both. Okay. Here we'll be doing probably with more of a typical kind of booth setup, audience. The customers are here. Yeah. Cyprus, what we've done differently is kind of co-branded events. So we were in Cyprus this year in the summer. What we did was an event with the CBOE, and then we did a separate event with CQG. Yeah. So that we got clients together, prospects, partners, and did something that was nice. We're looking to do more of that. There will definitely be more next year in the UAE. We'll be doing certain events kind of about certain trading products, platforms that we offer. So that's, I don't want to call them seminars, not in the typical retail sense, more institutional grade, if I can use it, that phrase, bringing people together. We're looking at also establishing our own kind of roundtable style events. Yep. These are work in progress in terms of the detail, but there'll be a lot of that coming in Dubai next year. I mean, our social channels are flying, so everything in terms of Instagram and things I'm not on, but it's TikTok and places like that.
You're not yet there.
I'm on Instagram now. It's a new thing, and I'm pushing a combination of personal and business on there. So there's a kind of at @Michael_Rostro. It's a fusion of business and person.
And what is next? TikTok?
I'm building up. Getting back to, I left Instagram for I think 6 years because I was on it all the time, and as it does, it draws you in. Yeah. Then I went back and said, actually, it links to things like today, just sharing a bit of what I do, who I am, business things that we have there. LinkedIn, always available, so people can kind of always reach out and get me there, as well as the team.
So from Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn, best is LinkedIn, I think. Still,
I think LinkedIn would be the best. Yeah. Where you're more likely to get the response would be LinkedIn for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. I think it was.
I think it was a spectacular.
Amazing.
Very natural.
Yes. Enjoyed it, man. Yes. Yeah, it's good fun.
You are a talent for this. honestly, I think you made me feel more comfortable than I ever was comfortable on the podcast. So
that's a big comment.
Yes, it is. So thank you.
So yes, thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing your plans, your short-term and your long-term plans. And hopefully we will get also to see you in some of these events.
100%. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Michael. And I hope you had a blast. I hope you joined this episode as much as I did, and more to come soon. Enjoy and take care.